Okay, thank you everyone for joining today and giving us a little bit of your time. Today we're going to talk about cloud migration trends in 2022 and really the state of the market from an IT infrastructure perspective and some 5 points to think about when choosing your next path and future paths for IT spends. Just a couple of quick housekeeping items. Presentation is scheduled for an hour, but typically my presentation lasts about 35 minutes, 35 to 40 minutes, I would say. My favorite part about doing these is really the interaction at the end with all of you. So please, if you have a question, type it in the question box. There's no such thing as a bad question. As well, at the end of the presentation will be all my contact info, so feel free to reach out to me that way. My name is Tyler Bauer. I'm the Director of Cloud and Hosting Services at Cloud at Work, and I helped start the company back in 2017 and focus exclusively on delivering the absolute best experience for Sage partners and Sage end users in the cloud. So first, what I thought we'd start with is kind of a little commercial. I apologize to do that to you guys right from the get, but I think it's important for all of you to understand who Cloud at Work is and what we do differently. So we were started in 2017. We focus exclusively on hosting Sage applications and try and take that cloud experience all the way through the application for you with your business partner. Now, the reason we started the business and why we've been so successful is back in 2017, I saw a lot of companies who were enterprise cloud companies who were focused on infrastructure primarily, security, availability, redundancy. However, when it came to the Sage application, they were really clueless on what types of nuances, third parties, customizations, even provisioning and support. So flip that on its head, there were a lot of other Sage hosting companies out there, but we saw that they were cutting corners on technology, things like security, availability, redundancy, and that really led to inaccurate, or I would say unscalable cloud platforms for today and the topic that we're going to talk about. So Cloud at Work, we bring those two together. We bring enterprise cloud capability and pair that with world application or world Sage nuance, world leading Sage nuance as we call it. This can be pretty much summed up in this diagram. So if you think about a traditional cloud experience with your Sage application, pick one, Amazon or Azure, right? They're the two largest providers in the world. However, Amazon and Azure, they're not in the business of communicating or working with individual businesses or people. So most companies who are looking to use those platforms would need a second layer or a third party to help them manage, provision, secure, and deliver that infrastructure for Sage. And that takes us to our third layer, which is the actual application itself. So Sage and as well all of the third parties and nuances there within the actual software. Then you have your business partner who's there to bring all of those different capabilities together and drag them through to your business process. And then you have, of course, yourself, the client. Now, in this scenario, it looks like we've checked every single box. However, in any use case, right, you're going to have questions, you're going to have a problem, and you're going to raise your hand, and now you need to pick who to reach out to. If you choose your cloud management company, possibly the issue resides within that and they're able to solve your problem right away. But what happens on times 2 and 3 when you reach out? Maybe it's a business partner question or possibly a publisher question. What happens in those cases is the support experience becomes inconsistent and balls start to get lobbed back over to you, the client, where you're left holding the bag. And that creates frustration, finger pointing, and as well just unproductivity all over the place. That's why Cloud at Work exists, to create a simple virtual private solution with one vendor. And what we're able to do is be that infrastructure, be that cloud management company. We understand it and are accredited by Sage as a hosting provider and know all the third parties and all of the products. And then as well, we tie in directly with your business partner to really complete that solution. You'll never experience finger pointing with us, and you'll find that Cloud at Work takes it over the goal line for you every time. This is just some quick stats. I put this in here. We can spend some time to go over that, or I can send the slides to you guys as well. This is just an overview of our delivery model and really what sets us apart from other cloud organizations. But let's jump into today's topic. So where we're at today. Today, more than ever, we rely on technology to move our business forward. And the future is forecasting that's just going to continue to compound. So things like remote connectivity, right? Being able to work from home and connecting into an office or a data center. We want that to work faster, more efficiently. We need more data now and instant gratification. We're using more data than ever before. Data is moving over the internet more and more each day. And as well, we're doing that because we're interacting with mobile technologies and mobile applications on the daily. Things like Teams and Zoom have been integral to developing culture and to keeping us in touch with both our customers and our employees. And those customers and employees are expecting on-demand results, all while the applications that we want to deploy to enact all of these demand changes are becoming more and more powerful, and the environment or the ecosystem around it is putting more and more pressure for investment. So what happens when these capabilities slow down? They break, they stop working, or they don't work as intended. We all know what that leads to, and it's chaos, right? It's frustration, it's downtime, it's not being able to do our job. It's time with our families, or it's time away from work that we're now consuming elsewhere. And so that takes us into the first bubble that we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about this one pretty extensively because these 5 items really sum up the world today. And for the first time ever, all of these different 5 components are compounding and are rising to the top, if you will, all at the same time. These are all things that we're used to or understanding of, but when you think about them all together in the concept of technology, it becomes pretty alarming. So the first topic that we're going to talk about is supply chain challenges today. So right now, Cloud at Work, we are managing about 6 to 8 month lead times on hardware. Now, that's not a big deal for Cloud at Work because Cloud at Work, we exclusively purchase hardware and deploy technology and deliver hosting services for clients. That's what we do. And so it's very easy for us to do that. Now, we spend millions and millions of dollars on this technology every single year and work with some of the world's leading technology providers and manufacturers and distributors to get that done. And Cloud at Work is waiting 6 to 8 months for some of this technology to be released. For some of our customers and CIOs and CEOs that I've talked to, some of them for certain aspects of their environment, they're seeing 52-week plus lead times to really make a change or to replace existing equipment. The days of setting it and forgetting it are gone. We can no longer think that we can buy a single thread or a single phase of hardware and that will last us 5 years. Nor can we focus on buying one of those things any longer because we have nothing to replace it with. So single points of failure are gone as well. We need to focus on redundancy and the ability to keep our business operational because of all those outside pressures from our employees and customers that are demanding it. And the unfortunate thing is this is going to get worse and more widespread, not better anytime soon. So what does this mean for us? Well, in the most simplistic use case is if we have a piece of infrastructure locally that we've been maintaining and using, if it breaks, it could take up to 12 to 18 months to get a new one. And if you decide that you want to go to the secondary market to replace that, one, you won't have guarantees around warranties and so forth, and you'll be paying about 30 to 40% more for that piece of hardware that you paid maybe 2 or 3 years ago. We can't bend from that employee user experience, and the reaction may be, keyword reaction, to use the cloud or the service market to solve this. But this whole time while we're trying to make this decision and trying to react, keyword, we're down. We're unable to be productive. So there's really 3 steps we can take to solve this problem. We can buy more stuff, right? Manage those lead times similar to Cloud at Work, or maybe invest in disaster recovery, right? Maybe have a second environment somewhere that we can run our business from, or migrate infrastructure to the cloud. Those are really the three things. And if we're thinking proactively, this is where CIOs and CEOs are thinking right now. So let's look at buy more stuff. So again, if I'm a broomstick manufacturer and that's what I do, I'm focused on things other than the infrastructure. I'm focused on how to, have my own lead times or my own shipment process or my own manufacturing process work more efficiently. I'm not trying to manage times around juggling IT infrastructure and filling gaps and plugging holes. So if you're going to buy more stuff, you're going to need to be that or enable that within your business. As well, it's going to get more expensive. And so we need to account for that inflation. The one thing around hardware is it's going to continue to go up. It's never going to come back down. It's not a gallon of milk or a gallon of gas. It's always going to stay up. And as well, we're going to need to continue to manage and secure this environment. The risk is still within our business. And those pressures around managing and securing, as well as enabling productivity and enabling collaboration, those pressures continue to grow at an extensive fold. Second option would be we could look at DR, right? So if something breaks, we can use our DR solution to fail over to it. Now, the question you have to ask is, where are you failing over to? Most businesses that I talk to have a device on premise, like a Datto or an Infrascale, and that device you can fail over to that device, or it replicates to a set of cloud servers. However, countless times, some of my customers, when they're utilizing this service in a reactive state, because most aren't doing extensive testing of it, they're finding that performance is really falling off a cliff because those servers aren't built for production usage in most cases. They're built for a temporary environment or temporary placeholder. The other piece is really going through that battle-tested failover internally. There's a lot that needs to happen both from people and technology in order to connect to that. So it really puts an additional layer into our business model as far as how can we test this, as well as how can we ensure that our process is going to be able to run efficiently and for how long before we're incurring a lot of costs. Now, the other places that you can go for DR that aren't necessarily in a box solution is you could look at AWS or Azure for that. But again, that would incur more management from you or a third party, or co-locating infrastructure to another data center. But again, that keeps you in the hardware business where you're continuing to purchase. So it kind of goes back to point one. So if the inefficiencies still exist in production, right, really what are we solving? Are we band-aiding, or are we trying to just weather the storm, or is this really the solution that we feel is going to catapult us towards the future? And certainly this can, but I think if you want to look at DR, it needs to be a combination of both buying more stuff, the first piece, and DR. And the third piece is cloud computing in general. What this gives you is unlimited capability in the cloud, scalable resources. You can layer in built-in redundancy. You can eliminate all those hardware lead times. You can have enhanced performance, enhanced security, and you don't have to buy any more stuff. So where I'm seeing a lot of CIOs and CEOs pushing their business towards is this model, because the theme seems to be mainly around consistency and scale. If we can simplify this cloud journey or this cloud migration path, that's the final piece, right? Is how can we simplify that? The second reason why customers and that I'm talking to are moving to the cloud very quickly is the new office. So a lot of companies pre-COVID had a ton of brick and mortar investment into real estate and offices. But what we found is that collaboration and working from home is okay in most cases. Now today, I think there's more of a hybrid environment, but still, it still feels like the local office has changed. It's not the dominant force any longer in the workforce. Now, with that transition comes elevated instant gratification. Newer employees, younger employees, technology's changing. We want more, faster, better, stronger. And as well, now we've added a wrinkle in that they're not coming into the office anymore. So we can't just rely on the local network to deliver that experience. We now need to rely on the wide area network or the internet to deliver that experience. So we need to secure outside traffic and secure connections in, while at the same time making sure our employees can be productive. And most companies who had, an office or a closet in their office for their data center, most didn't have proper bandwidth capability, security technology, multi-factor or login technology that's efficient, secure, and redundant. So these are areas that now companies are really heavily invested in. Now, looking at the next wave of where collaboration and connectivity is going is really the interactions that we're having today on Zoom and Teams, obviously. But what happens when that transitions to VR or the metaverse, and we start putting on a headset to then go into a virtual real estate or virtual office? That just puts that much more burden on our corporate networks and our corporate applications. And while at the same time, we need to secure those spaces, secure those conversations, and secure those meeting areas. So today, the average person interacts with the data center or a smart device about 24 to 2,500 times per day. According to Gartner, the average person will interact with that device almost double. So think about how many times we yell at our kids for getting off the phone and getting their nose out of the phone to eat dinner with their family, or how many times we're checking our emails while we're driving. It feels like we're constantly in a screen today. Now picture that doubling for the average person. It's going to put that much more burden in the near future on business, on how we interact, on how we transact. And we need to be prepared for that and scale with change, not butt against it. The third item is security. So security is not a new term. Certainly it's always, I'm sure it's been top of mind for all of you for multiple years. However, the rate at which cybersecurity attacks happen is continuing to increase, and they're getting smarter. And what I mean by that is a lot of companies I talk to feel they have a blanket over them with cybersecurity insurance. And for many years, for about 2-3 years, it was. However, post-COVID, ransomware attacks were 140 million plus in 2021. There were 68 different variants, and the average ransomware transaction per month was about 102 million. So you can see that this has just become a very, very big industry, both for the bad actors and for insurance companies and technology companies who are focused on security. Now, let's focus on cyber insurance in general. Some companies I've seen have minimum increases in their premiums. Some companies I've seen with over 100% or doubling their premiums. That's all based on the preparation. So now insurance companies are becoming more and more in tune with the steps that companies are taking to prevent these attacks. So things like dual factor authentication, SOC 2, HITRUST, ISO, all of these components that we're factoring in and compliance that we're building into our business and having security plans will lower our insurance premiums. Today, actually, most insurance carriers, if you have employees connecting remotely to applications and you don't have dual factor installed, you won't be able to renew your cybersecurity insurance premium. Forget about it going up, you just won't be able to get one. So that's just the first wrinkle of investment that pressures outside of our control are putting on to make our business run efficiently without risk. Pretty soon, in my opinion, there will be a need for compliance. So for instance, Cloud at Work, we go through an audit by a third party every single year, SOC 2 Type 2 audit. So similar to that, I think in order to get lower premiums, you'll need to show that you're taking these steps or making these investments to take security seriously. Forget about mandates. It will be around securing and managing risk within our own business now and moving forward. So something to really be aware of, this compounding risk. The fourth is inflation, and we kind of talked about it a little bit. However, we are seeing the highest inflation that we've ever seen since the early 80s, and it's really around tech and people in this case. And what I mean by that is, as I mentioned before, if we're talking about a gallon of gas being $5 a gallon, in 2 years it could easily go back down to $2. And life as we know it moves on. However, in the hardware business, in the technology business, the software business, this is a gap where these manufacturers of product can easily increase their profit margins by following the trends, the global economic trends of inflation. And the one thing with those types of solutions, software, hardware, they never go back down. Inflation is allowing them to increase price at a higher rate than what they planned for. And so they're going to take advantage of that. We're seeing that today. As well, inflation has trickled heavily into the secondary market, similar to the car market. In technology today, we're seeing certain pieces of hardware on the secondary market going 30, 40, even 50% higher than what it used to about 2 years ago. So something to plan for. Is this going to slow down or is this going to increase? Certainly, it will never move backwards. So there's no future investment there or anything like that. But we can certainly curtail the rate at which it will go up in the future. But right now, as it stands, it's going to continue to go up at an alarming rate. And fifth is really the workforce, people, and retention. Our IT infrastructure and our applications and how we do business attracts our people. However, if we think of all of this investment that we're making at the application level and in the business process level, the manufacturing and distribution level, or even finance and capability level, if we build all of those processes and invest on a foundation made of sand, it will all come crashing down. So if we know that the horsepower or the engine to churn all of this collaboration and all of this interaction needs to breathe, right? It needs a foundation of growth and scale, then we need to plan for that. Whether it's us buying it ourselves or investing into different technologies ourselves or looking at the service provider market or the cloud market to solve that. However, I believe that working from home is here to stay. I don't think that folks are going to in mass exodus go back to the office. Obviously, I think some of that has to do with health concerns, but I also think it has to do with work-life balance and being able to kind of show trust to employees and show trust to people while still being productive. And as well, companies are going to continue to get younger, which is going to put more pressures on how we interact and the amount of time it takes to do a certain piece of reporting or a certain piece of transacting. We have to do this and keep up with the demand. Otherwise, if we're not keeping up with that generation or keeping up with where technology is going, we'll be left behind and we'll end up being a takeoff company where people are leaving to then go to an attractive company. Obviously, technology and the foundation factor into today's culture and retention, and really the workforce as it stands today. And as well, it really will help acquire or attract people in today's landscape. So in quick summary, really this has become the perfect storm of chaos. For the first time, it's all happening at once. This isn't meant to scare anyone. This isn't meant to kind of say, let's board up the windows, but it's something to be aware of. It's not slowing down. And the key the key component, if you can take anything away from this presentation, is just let's be proactive in solving for it. There's so many customers that I talk to every day. You know, at Cloud at Work, we have about 500 to 550 customers today. We're doing business within Canada, the United States, and have users accessing all over the globe. There's a good amount of customers that we talk to on a regular basis who are impacted by security threats and need to react to the cloud, or impacted by breakage within their data center today and need to snap react to the cloud. Now, while we're there as a service provider to pick you up and to help you, and we have countless customer and partner testimonials to show you there, it's not a good experience for anyone, right? Nobody wants to feel vulnerable. Certainly my guys want to be able to plan for success rather than react to it as well. So always be proactive and think about these different pressures that are happening around us and how that fits into your business and your risk profile. So just to recap, the first one is supply chain. Things are becoming harder to get at an increasing rate. It's not slowing down, it's actually increasing. We now have the new office, which is putting increasing pressures on our common architecture at our office. Maybe we had our hardware sitting at our office, and now 3/4 of our employees are connecting remotely. Is that happening securely? Do we have redundancy? And is it efficient enough for our employees? All the while, the bad actors around are trying to attack us, and at a more alarming rate. And if we're not investing in technology and investing in foundational principles to protect ourselves, security will get a hold of us at some time. All the while, everything that we're doing, all of the components that we're purchasing and managing are becoming more expensive, both in the primary and secondary market. And the workforce is demanding us, and our employees and customers are demanding us to get better, to keep up. And if we don't, the consequence could be we're left behind. So that's all I have. It was about 30 minutes, so I ran about 5 minutes under. But obviously, if you have any questions, please type them into the chat now. I'm happy to answer them. We have here all of my contact information. Feel free to reach out to me anytime. If you are going to be at Sage Summit in Dallas in about a week, I will be there. So come up to me and tap me on the shoulder. Happy to have a conversation and talk to you. Let me check and see if we have any questions. We have no questions. Man, I must have done a good job. Well, thank you everyone again for your time. Really appreciate it. Have a fantastic weekend if I don't get to talk to you, and please reach out if there's anything I can ever do for you. Thank you.